All right, we're hitting the road with Woodwire and Watts. Hey there.
How's it going?
Doing all right. Good morning, Chris.
Hello, how's it going?
It's going all right. Are you excited?
I'm not awake.
That's okay. I'm working on it.
Understand. Man, I have had a crazy morning.
Have you? All right, viewers, you're getting a road view right now.
Yeah, road view. Which way am I going? Turn right 300 feet.
Hey guys, we are on our way to the guitar show for Woodwire and Watts, and we're gonna see what kind of weird old vintage cool stuff we can find.
It's our main mission to find Topher an ovation. That's what we're really here for.
If I see an ovation that is $50 or less, I will buy it today. Or we're going to saw the neck off of it and turn it into a chip bowl to pass around during the show. And the 3 or 4 tiny little holes along the side can be used to hold shot glasses.
Perfect.
Yes. Hey guys.
Hey, we're here.
We're here. We are at the Indiana Guitar Show. We're gonna go check out what cool stuff they have. Yeah.
Yep.
You got anything on your hit list today you're looking for?
You're looking for some pickups, I think.
Nice.
Maybe. Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah. Let's see if I can find a cheap bass to work with, or a neck for a bass. We'll see.
You said vintage 70s electro. That's what we're looking for you. Okay, yeah,
that works.
Some cheap, $4 grand, $5 grand. Yeah. Okay.
Didn't you say you had $4 grand today?
Maybe.
Help a brother out. All right, we're
80% interest.
We'll check in a bit here.
Yeah. All right. So
you guys had a good time.
it was good. It was
did
good.
the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So, what's the weirdest thing you saw?
The weirdest thing.
All right. So I wouldn't say this was the most coincidental, I think. And you know where I'm going with this. So we're walking through the building, and we're passing by a Marshall cab, and the Marshall cab has a Frankenstein head on it, and I'm like, that's funny. I didn't know Marshall did like a whole series of those, because our buddy Brent, who has been on the show before, has an exact one of those. I'm like, that's weird, huh? So I stop back and tell him, hey, check this out. The guy starts talking to us. I'm like, where'd you get this? He's like, Bluffton, Indiana. Brent!
We're like small world.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
The weirdest thing, I went like thinking I'm gonna see if I can find a bass. I didn't actually buy anything but a guitar pick and a t-shirt, but I was looking at small basses. Like I wanted one like a Mustang, like my guitar, and I found a vintage like 60s or 70s, probably 70s Music Master, which was like the student model Fender, which is basically a Mustang with one pickup. Okay. Was that? No, that wasn't the weird one. It was the one that was just like it.
Yeah.
I found a Mustang too, as well, from like the 90s, I think it was, or 80s, was Squire. But that was the weird one because the guy had modified it to be a 5-string bass.
Oh.
But the 5th string, like as it went up the neck, didn't quite stay on the neck.
Yup.
Oh.
And I was like, yeah, I don't think I can work with this.
And he still wanted, I think, $400 or $500.
Oh.
Yeah. I was like, I need to be able to fret all the notes. Yeah.
Both of the basses he looked at, like the other one, like they put a sticker over a pickup just to like a pickup that like hole that wasn't there, and said it was unmodified, and then was gonna charge him $600.
Oh Lord.
He's like, well, it had the original pickups gone. He's like the sticker's covering up because it had a humbucker there. I'm like, they never put humbuckers in these guitars. So I'm like, it was modified and then unmodified.
Wait.
If you now on that guitar, if you're gonna put a band sticker over it, what band sticker are you putting over it?
The 70s, like
Ramones.
I mean,
That's what was on it?
it was a punk rock
it was
bass, I
Ramones,
guess.
yeah.
I guess.
It was the least looking punk rock bass I've ever seen. Yeah.
That's so generic.
It was, yeah.
At least it wasn't like a Nirvana sticker or something.
Yeah.
That would have been really tacky.
Yeah, that's true. We saw a lot of cool, like the big takeaway there. I think we saw a lot of cool, like non-standard vintage instruments, and what I mean by that is like, yeah, there's a lot of dudes that have like the 1950s Les Pauls and some of that fancy stuff, but there's like real nice lap steels and mandolins and stuff that they had, and those like that's what I'm into. I don't know. So that's
So your eye was drawn more to like the weird, obscure instruments that aren't necessarily guitars.
yeah, because and I think we're spoiled here in Fort Wayne, right?
Right.
We have Gearfest, and so I was expecting Gearfest kind of level of, but really this is like a flea market is what it was, and like
It's just a huge
Yeah.
flea market of gear. Vintage fuzz. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a K lap steel.
what's that?
It's $300. Bad. Those were like in Musician's Friend when I was in high school in the catalogs all the time.
Really?
The ones that look like a footprint. Iron dogs.
Yeah, I do remember seeing them.
Yeah.
I thought they still made them.
Do they? Maybe
know,
they still
maybe.
do. I just remember them from then. I got some interesting grip space, but in the original,
Yeah.
it's a 61. I felt like that I think like when you go like this show to me, like just looking at a big picture of it, either there was like the handful of tables where the gear was like awesome, and you're like, okay, these guys are collectors, where you're like, that is a $60,000 Strat or Les Paul, where it is vintage, perfect, and I don't know who expects to sell them at these shows. It almost feels like you have people who go and sell their junk table stuff, like whatever they have, and you can get some good deals, or there are people who have like, I want to show what I own.
Yeah. Okay.
It does make you wonder, because like the regular person who's trying to make money off of like $1,000, $2,000 guitars is one thing, but that guy that has the $40,000 guitars, he only got to make one sale in like 30 months. Like if he makes
true.
that, so regardless of whether or not he's there, like he's just got to make one
true.
sale like for the year, you know.
And I guess that show does move around actually.
Yeah.
Because they do like a state, like several states have that.
That's a fair point. So, was there a particular like pricey guitar that you saw that was like what was the most expensive piece you saw?
Most expensive piece,
Strat.
Strat. There was like a. How much was that thing?
It was in the not six figures. It was 5 figures.
But yeah,
$40,000 to $60,000 Strat. Like, I don't know, from the 50s.
yeah, it was a very early, like first few years of Stratocaster,
wow.
and
But
that was the guy's table that had guitars where you're like, this is like showroom perfect. Like,
Looking at it, I was not that impressed.
yeah, I mean,
like,
you see,
that's
the
an old Strat.
It's a Strat.
Yeah. No, I thought about the Black Beauty Les Paul is the one that caught my eye.
Yeah,
so
that was
3 gold
nice.
pickups from the 60s. I think I say this, it wasn't that expensive compared to the Strat. It was still $6,000, $8,000, somewhere around there. Like, I would not be able to afford it. Yeah.
Gotcha. So, what about? Was there any like? What was like a cheap piece of instrument that you're like, oh man, I could have walked away with that. No,
There were quite a few things that were like, if I just had like, if I would have went and been like, man, I got a few $100 to spend that I don't care about. There were a few things I would have bought. So I saw some really cool old vintage like Japanese and Italian import electric guitars, like like Tesco level, like just that normally aren't that expensive.
Yes.
I saw some Italia.
I wouldn't go
which were
in
cool
there
as well.
without based on the prices of those, like you can't really go in there without $500-$600, which is kind of a pain
For
in the
some
ass.
of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, any pedals? Any like not guitar gear related things that were really cool?
There were definitely some guitar pedals that were. I mean,
I didn't see any
I didn't pay as
clones
much
or
attention
anything.
to that, though.
No, I did. I was watching for those. Yeah, like, look, man. When I walk into a guitar show, I'm looking for the pedals. At this point, okay, like,
That's a fair point. Like,
Yeah.
When you have a collection like what we have of guitars, like, I've got what I need.
yeah.
I want the toys.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, like, that's more the budget, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not just gonna throw down
Yeah,
$400, $500,
that's fair.
$600 for something that I don't really need right now. Whereas Pedal World, a couple $100, yeah, it's a little bit more play money.
I can trade, and it's more tradable. And,
Yeah. But what I saw, everything there is what you'd expect to see. So they had like an EHX display, they had a Walrus display, they had a.
Lots of Boss DS ones.
Actually, no. I saw Metal Zone.
Yeah,
Saw Metal
yeah,
Zone.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah, there's definitely one of those. But yeah, no, like it was all the mid-tier pedals that you'd think.
Yeah,
Nothing collectible.
No like $high dollar collectible pedals that I saw.
no.
At least
And not a whole lot of there was a few like Dan Electro, like the bottom dollar pedals that they wanted full price for.
What about like like homemade kind of like?
There were a few. There were
unknown things.
there were a couple builders there that were just like, I build these in my woodshed or my so I'm trying to I
Hand-carved
don't remember
necks.
the brand. I don't remember the brand of the one that was. They were cool looking, but they were also one where you go, I don't want to spend $1,200 on a guitar that, like I don't know. It doesn't really hold value. Like if I buy a Fender Strat. Like it's gonna not be worth what I paid for it later on, but it's still a Fender Strat, and I can get a few $100 out of it. But if you spend $1,200 on a guitar that no one's ever heard of,
Yeah.
it's got to be for you.
Yeah. And there's nothing except for what was that brand that those Strats
Those were awesome
Red Queen plays them on occasion.
on occasion. The guy that had the amp that was Brent's,
Okay.
he had a display of guitars up that they all had a very Fraser guitars.
Fraser guitars.
They had a very Fender looking logo.
Okay.
But they were very nicely made. If that Strat was, I have to say, that was probably the best Strat I've ever played in my life.
I would say that was the best Strat I've ever played in my life. Yeah.
That neck was just really nice.
And less than $1,500, so well within Strat money.
And I think
like,
they were made. Was
Made in England?
England, yeah.
UK?
They
did have a
made
cease and
overseas.
desist because of their logo. But once they fixed their logo,
If I guess they must not be like that small of a. I mean, it's not a big name, but like I can't be that small of a brand, because why would Fender give a cease and desist letter to a brand that no one's ever heard of?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the, like, almost a badge of honor at that point. Like,
Oh yeah.
you've made a Strat good enough that
Yeah.
Fender says, all right,
Hey.
calm down.
But yeah, if I had $1,500 to blow and I was trying to buy a Strat,
Yeah.
that was as nice as any Fender at that price.
Like, I even told the dude, like, I'm not a Strat player, and I would play one of these.
I was feeling if I made a Strat that looked like it was identical, like I built it, cut the wood, everything from scrap, and put a badge on it that said Topher in the Fender letters. I don't think anybody would pick that up.
They had started, the headstocks just had a slight different cut to them, because they said they were trying to, like, I think because Fender was upset that things look so close. But yeah,
Cool.
those were really cool.
But so next time, would you go next time if it came around, or is this something probably like a one-off thing?
I would go if you guys were into going, but I don't know that I would make it a yearly habit. You know what I mean?
I feel the same way. Like if I was looking for a vintage guitar, like especially like something odd or hard to find, and I had the money to spend, I would go. But but just to go, it's it's not a long drive, but the show isn't as big as it wasn't that big of a show.
If it was in like Shipshawana, so for everybody else out there, like if it was like a half hour, 45-minute thing outside of town, yeah, absolutely, I'd probably go there every year. For 2.5 hour drive, I don't think I would want to go every year.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, like if we got Gear Fest.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to beat that flea market there.
I have seen the Gear Fest flea market tent be bigger than what this was.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I think the year that I bought that one, I think the tent was probably similar size as to what the show was. Maybe not quite as big, but close.
Yeah. I've also
spoiled, guys.
I've also seen better deals at the Gear Fest tent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting to find a friend's guitar cab that you absolutely know. And Brent, it still sounds pretty good. Dude, those guitars are like, holy. Yeah.
They were great. Yeah.
I played one of them once, like at my album release. One of Brent's guitarists had one of those Fraser guitars, and I played it for a minute and it was okay. But man, that one, that guy, that Ash guy, that's sick.
Probably the best feeling Strat I've played, like ever.
Definitely check out Fraser guitars if you dig like Fender Strat copies that play real well.
Who was is it Hippie Picks? Is that who we got to meet?
Yeah,
Mark with Hippie Picks.
Yeah, Mark with Hippie Picks. I think we're gonna hit him up when we come on the show in the future. Talk about pick materials and how that affects tone and such. Maybe do a little demo with the picks we bought at some point here.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Play them on the show. What was your favorite thing at the show, Chris?
See, my problem with those shows is I always want to spend money.
Me too. I kept my wallet at bay, but it was there's some of those vintage, man, there's just stuff that you just don't ever see.
Yeah, honestly I kept focusing in on it's super not original, but while we were there I just kept going, I need a gold top, because all the gold tops I saw were friggin' gorgeous.
A real deal gold top is a beautiful guitar. That Black Beauty too with the triple pickup, that was.
Yeah, my issue with the gold tops I did see is they didn't have P90s, and I want them with P90s.
You want the original era.
Yep.
It's funny, a lot of people swap those out for humbuckers.
Really?
And some of those old ones, so you don't always find them with the original pickups.
Oh, didn't know.
Because there was at a point it wasn't collectible, back when they were.
We didn't quite find your bass, but
we did not. I found a couple of basses that I really sort of liked until I realized that they weren't quite made correctly. Found a pretty badass vintage Fender Music Master bass, but the modifications done to it were not done well, and having to revert all that would have been not worth the price. And I don't know that trying to hide the pickup cavity that someone misrouted by putting a Ramones sticker over it is a good plan.
probably not the best bet, but
And that was the first time I've ever seen someone take a Mustang bass and decide to add a fifth string to it.
Yeah, that was.
That didn't quite fit on the neck.
It was
Towards the back, it's just kind of open in the air.
Yeah. We found a couple of ovations for Topher.
I know. If that applause had been like half that, I wasn't gonna spend $100 on a semi-functional applause. If it would have been $50,
We'd
probably would have
home.
been brought home as a ornament for the show.
Yes. Oh man.
We missed you today, Topher. Find something good to eat at lunch, and we might hit up the used section of a Guitar Center here since we're down near Indy.
I was super into the mandolins and whatnot. The mandolins, lap steels they had. I like that stuff.
That was a nice looking Gibson F9 there, so at the end.
Yeah. After a while, you start seeing, and you're probably in this boat. Everybody ends up with showing off their vintage, Gibson Electrics, their vintage Strats. After a while, it's like they start to run together. They do. But you don't see a lot of those interesting instruments. After a while, you don't see a lot of those.
I get drawn to the weird the obscure like Japanese and Italian guitars and stuff like that, like the old Echoes. I didn't see. I was disappointed. I was really hoping to see like a Gibson Marauder. Trade I was gonna trade a pile of pedals plus a few $100 because I think they're like a decent one, like $1,000
That's not too bad.
for late 70s.
All right, that's all we have for this week, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Next week we go back to our normal format. That's all for Woodwire and Watts this week.